The silver scout ship moved through the darkness between stars. Inside, Kethvara studied the data on her screens. Her 4 eyes focused on the strange blue planet that hung in space ahead of them. This was the 3rd planet from a yellow star. The beings who lived here called it Earth. Kethvara was a scientist for the Galactic Hegemony. Her job was to study new species that they found. The hegemony was made up of 12 different alien races. They controlled most of the galaxy. When they found a new planet with life, they had rules about what to do next. First, they watched. Then they decided if the new species was useful. Most of the time, the answer was yes. New species meant new workers, new resources, and new worlds to control. The data from Earth was interesting. The planet was rich in rare metals that the hegemony needed. The dominant species looked like they might be good workers. They were bipedal, which meant they walked on 2 legs. They had hands that could hold tools. Their brains seemed large enough to follow simple orders, but their technology was very basic. They still used chemical rockets to travel in space. They fought wars with explosives and metal bullets. Some of their weapons used nuclear reactions, but even those were simple designs. The hegemony had stopped using such primitive methods thousands of years ago. Kethvara finished her report and sent it to the Council of Species. The council would meet on the capital world of Zephyr Prime to decide what to do about the humans. 3 days later, the council gathered in their great hall. Representatives from all 12 species sat in a circle. Admiral Vexthal of the Dominion Navy stood in the center. He was tall and gray with 6 arms. His species, the Dominions, were natural warriors. They had conquered more worlds than any other member of the hegemony. "The humans are weak," Admiral Vexthal said. His voice was deep and commanding. "They have barely left their home world. Their largest ships are smaller than our scout vessels. Their weapons could not damage our shields." Kethvara rose from her seat. Her species, the Zephyrians, were scientists and scholars. "The data supports the Admiral's assessment," she said. "I rate their technology at level 2.3 on our scale. Their military threat level is negligible." A being that looked like a walking tree spoke next. This was Gruthan of the Arboreals. "What about their population? How many workers can we expect to gain?" 8 billion individuals, Kethvara replied. "More than enough for our mining operations in the Outer Rim. Their planet has vast deposits of lithium, rare earth elements, and crystalline formations." The council members nodded. This was exactly what they hoped to hear. New workers meant more production. More production meant more wealth for the hegemony. "I see no reason to waste time," Admiral Vexthal said. "We should send a standard subjugation fleet. 200 ships should be more than enough. The humans will surrender when they see our power." A small, green-skinned being raised one of its tentacles. This was Counselor Zex Mari of the Aquatic Union. "Should we not offer them the chance to join willingly? Some species choose to become partners, rather than subjects." Admiral Vexthal laughed. The sound was harsh and cold. "Look at their history, Counselor. These humans have been fighting wars for their entire existence. They know only violence. They will not understand partnership until they understand defeat." The Admiral activated a hologram in the center of the circle. It showed images from Earth's history. Battles, explosions, and destruction filled the air. "They fight constantly," he said. "Not just with other species, but with themselves. They are divided into hundreds of different groups. They cannot even unite their own kind." Facted. $5. The images changed to show human weapons, tanks, aircraft, and ships that looked primitive compared to hegemony technology. "Their most powerful weapons are nuclear missiles," the Admiral continued. "We developed protection against such devices before your ancestors learned to use tools." The council voted unanimously. The humans would be subjugated. Their world would become part of the hegemony. The operation would begin immediately. Admiral Vexthal returned to his flagship, the Eternal Dominion. It was a massive vessel. 3 kilometers long and armed with weapons that could destroy cities. Around it, the hegemony fleet gathered, 200 ships of different sizes and designs, all powerful enough to defeat any defense the humans might have. The admiral stood on his command deck and looked out at his fleet. Each ship represented the most advanced technology in the galaxy. Their shields could stop any human weapon. Their guns could punch through any human armor. Their computers could think faster than any human mind. Set course for Earth, he ordered his crew. We will arrive in their system in 10 standard days. I want the subjugation to be complete within 72 hours of our arrival. His second-in-command, a insect-like being called Hivetalk, clicked his mandibles nervously. Admiral, should we prepare for extended resistance? Their species seems naturally aggressive. Admiral Vex Thull turned to face his subordinate. His expression was one of complete confidence. Hivetalk. Aggression without capability is just noise. The humans make loud sounds, but they have no real strength. This will not be a war. It will be a harvesting operation. The fleet moved through hyperspace toward Earth. None of them knew that their sensors had missed several important details about human technology: hidden defense platforms, disguised military satellites, secret research projects that even Earth's own governments barely understood. Most importantly, they had completely misunderstood what 8 billion humans were capable of when someone threatened their home. The hegemony had conquered 47 worlds using the same strategy. They would arrive with overwhelming force. They would demand surrender. The local species would see that resistance was hopeless and submit. They had never encountered a species that would fight even when victory seemed impossible. They had never met beings who would sacrifice everything for the simple right to remain free. They had never faced an enemy that had spent its entire history learning how to kill. As the fleet traveled through the darkness, Admiral Vex Thull reviewed the battle plans one more time. Everything was perfect. The operation would be quick and clean. In less than 2 weeks, the humans would be working in hegemony mines. He had no idea that he was leading his people toward the greatest military disaster in galactic history. The warning alarms screamed across every military base on Earth. In underground bunkers, government leaders stared at their screens in disbelief. The objects that had appeared at the edge of the solar system were clearly artificial. They were also clearly not human. General Sarah Chen stood in the Pentagon's war room, watching the data stream in from their deep space sensors. 200 alien ships had dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Neptune's orbit. The smallest of these ships was larger than Earth's biggest aircraft carrier. "Ma'am," her aide whispered, "the President is calling an emergency meeting with all world leaders. NATO, the UN Security Council, everyone." General Chen nodded but did not take her eyes off the display. She had spent 30 years in the military, fighting in conflicts around the world. She had seen every type of enemy humanity could produce, but this was something entirely new. The alien fleet moved slowly toward Earth. Their formation was perfect, disciplined. These were not explorers or traders. This was a military force. President Martinez's voice came through the secure communication system. "General Chen, what are we looking at?" 200 ships, Mr. President. Unknown technology, but clearly advanced. They're not trying to hide. They want us to see them. Could this be peaceful contact? General Chen watched as the alien fleet adjusted course toward Earth. "I don't think so, sir. That's not how you approach someone for a friendly chat." Around the world, other military leaders were reaching the same conclusion. General Petrov in Moscow, Field Marshal Singh in New Delhi, Admiral Tanaka in Tokyo. They all recognized a hostile force when they saw one. The aliens took 3 days to reach Mars' orbit. During that time, Earth's leaders tried everything they could think of. They sent radio messages in every language. They used mathematical sequences. They tried music, art, and simple pictures. The alien fleet ignored every attempt at communication. On the 3rd day, the aliens finally responded. The message came on every radio frequency, every television channel, every computer screen on Earth at the same time. The voice spoke perfect English, but it was clearly not human. "Primitive inhabitants of the third planet," the voice said. "I am Admiral Vex Thull of the Galactic Hegemony. Your world has been selected for integration into our civilization. You will surrender all military forces immediately. Your leaders will report to our ships for processing. Resistance will result in the complete destruction of your species." The message repeated in every major human language: Chinese, Spanish, Arabic, Hindi. The meaning was clear. In every version: submit or die. General Chen found herself smiling. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who finally understood what kind of fight was coming. President Martinez called an emergency video conference with world leaders. The faces on the screen showed fear, anger, and determination in equal measure. "We need to consider their offer," said Chancellor Weber from Germany. "These aliens clearly have superior technology. Fighting them could mean the end of humanity, and surrendering means slavery," replied President Chen of Taiwan. "I have read enough history to know what integration means when spoken by conquerors." Prime Minister Thompson of Britain leaned forward. "Our intelligence agencies have been analyzing their ships. They have weapons we don't understand. Shields we can't penetrate. How do we fight something like that?" General Chen spoke up. "With respect, Mr. Prime Minister, that's not the right question. The question is, do we fight or do we kneel?" The debate continued for hours. Some leaders wanted to negotiate. Others wanted to surrender immediately. But slowly, a consensus emerged. Earth would not submit without a fight. President Martinez delivered humanity's official response. General Chen stood beside him as he spoke into the cameras that would broadcast to the world and to the waiting alien fleet. "Admiral Vex Thull," the president said, his voice steady and clear. "This is President Martinez of Earth. We have received your demands. Our answer is no. We will not surrender. We will not submit. If you want our world, you will have to take it. But know this, it will cost you more than you can imagine." General Chen stepped forward. "This is General Sarah Chen of Earth's military forces. Admiral, you have made a grave error in judgment. You see our technology and think we are weak. You count our ships and think we are helpless. You are wrong. We may not have your weapons, but we have something you clearly do not understand. We have the will to fight for our freedom. Withdraw now, or face the consequences." The transmission ended. Around the world, military forces prepared for battle. Every soldier, sailor, pilot, and marine understood what was coming. They were vastly outnumbered and outgunned. Victory was probably impossible, but that had never stopped humans before. Admiral Vex Thull received Earth's response on his command deck. His officers looked at each other in amazement. No species had ever rejected the hegemony's offer so directly. "They must not understand our power," said Hivetalk. "Should we demonstrate our weapons on one of their cities?" The admiral laughed. "No need for such drama. We will simply destroy their orbital installations. Once they see how easily we sweep aside their defenses, they will surrender." The hegemony fleet moved into Earth orbit. Their sensors showed the expected defensive installations. A few dozen space stations, some armed satellites, and what appeared to be a small fleet of primitive warships. "Begin the attack," Admiral Vex Thull ordered. "Target their military installations first. Leave their cities intact. We will need the infrastructure." The first wave of alien fighters swept toward Earth's orbital defenses. Their weapons charged, ready to destroy everything in their path. The human installations looked pathetic compared to hegemony technology. Then the humans opened fire. The first surprise was the railgun platform hidden on the far side of Earth's moon. It had been disguised to look like a mining station. When it fired, a metal projectile moving at 30% the speed of light punched through the shields of an alien cruiser and tore the ship in half. The second surprise was the network of hidden weapons satellites. Earth's orbital defenses were not the few dozen installations the aliens had detected. They were hundreds of platforms, disguised as civilian infrastructure or hidden in the asteroid belt. The third surprise was the speed of human response. Within minutes of the first shot, every military base on Earth was launching fighters and missiles. Human ships that had been hiding behind planets and asteroids suddenly revealed themselves, weapons charging. Admiral Vex Thol watched in shock as his first wave of fighters met unexpected resistance. Human interceptors that should have been easy targets were using tactics he had never seen before. They attacked in coordinated groups, sacrificing themselves to destroy single alien fighters. They used their own ships as weapons, ramming enemy vessels when their guns failed. "How are they doing this?" he demanded. "Our intelligence said their technology was primitive." "Sir," Hivetalk replied, his voice shaking, "their technology is primitive, but their tactics, I have never seen anything like this. They fight as if they have no fear of death." On Earth, General Chen coordinated the defense from her underground command center. Reports flooded in from around the world. The aliens were powerful, but they were not invincible. Human weapons could hurt them. Human courage could match them. "Ma'am," her communication officer called out, "we're receiving a message from the alien fleet. They're demanding we cease resistance immediately." General Chen smiled her cold smile again. "Send them our response. Tell Admiral Vex Thol that this is just the beginning. He wanted a war with humanity. Now he's got one. The battle for Earth had begun." In space above the planet, human and alien ships fought with desperate fury. Neither side knew that this was only the first day of a conflict that would change the galaxy forever. But Admiral Vex Thol was already learning his first lesson about humanity. They did not fight the way civilized species were supposed to fight. They did not calculate odds or consider retreat. They simply fought, with everything they had, until they won or died trying. It was a lesson that would terrify the galaxy. The war had been going for 6 weeks, and Admiral Vex Thol was beginning to understand his mistake. What should have been a simple conquest had become a nightmare that grew worse every day. The humans did not fight like any species the hegemony had ever encountered. When their ships were damaged, they did not retreat. Instead, they used the damaged vessels as weapons, ramming them into alien ships at high speed. When their weapons ran out of ammunition, they found ways to turn civilian equipment into military hardware. Dr. Marcus Webb worked in an underground laboratory beneath the ruins of Geneva. Above ground, the city was a war zone. Alien and human forces fought street by street. But underground, Dr. Webb and his team were creating weapons that the aliens had never imagined. "The alien shield technology works on a specific frequency pattern," Dr. Webb explained to his assistant. "But if we modify our plasma cutters to match their shield harmonics, we can create weapons that ignore their defenses completely." His assistant, Dr. Sarah Kim, looked worried. "Marcus, these modifications will make the plasma cutters incredibly dangerous. They could cut through anything." Dr. Webb nodded. "That's the idea. The aliens think they're safe behind their shields. Let's prove them wrong." In space, Captain Zara Okafor piloted her cargo ship toward an alien battle cruiser. Her ship had been a peaceful freight hauler just 2 months ago. Now it was loaded with nuclear warheads and guided by a woman with nothing left to lose. "Cargo ship, you are ordered to surrender immediately," came the alien transmission. "Disable your engines and prepare to be boarded." Captain Okafor spoke into her radio, knowing that every human ship in the area could hear her. "This is Captain Okafor of the merchant vessel New Lagos. I have a delivery for our alien visitors. One special package, delivered with love from Earth." She pushed her engines to maximum power and aimed directly at the alien ship. The aliens fired their weapons. But Captain Okafor had planned for that. Her ship's hull had been reinforced with every piece of metal her crew could find. She held course, even as alien beams tore her ship apart. The impact destroyed both vessels in a flash of nuclear fire. But Captain Okafor's sacrifice created an opening in the alien formation. Human fighters poured through the gap, their weapons targeting the now exposed alien ships. On Earth, governments had learned to work together in ways they never had before. The United Nations had become a true world government, almost overnight. Resources flowed freely between nations. Information was shared instantly. The old rivalries and disputes seemed meaningless when humanity itself faced extinction. General Chen stood in the new Global Command Center, built in the Rocky Mountains. Around her, officers from every nation worked side by side. Chinese technicians repaired Russian equipment. American pilots flew planes built with European technology. African engineers designed new weapons using Asian manufacturing techniques. General, called Commander Elena Vasquez from the Space Operations Desk. We're receiving reports from the Jupiter mining station. They've managed to capture an intact alien fighter. General Chen hurried to the communications station. This was the breakthrough they had been hoping for. If human scientists could study alien technology, they might be able to level the fighting field. Get that ship back to Earth immediately, she ordered. And tell Dr. Webb's team to prepare for a very interesting delivery. Meanwhile, in the alien fleet, Admiral Vex Thul was receiving reports that filled him with growing dread. The human resistance was not weakening. It was getting stronger. Sir, HiveTalk reported, the humans have begun using chemical weapons on our ground forces. These chemicals are designed specifically to attack our biology. Admiral Vex Thul's eyes widened. How is that possible? They have only known about us for 6 weeks. Our medical officer believes they studied our dead from the early battles. They learned our weaknesses and created weapons to exploit them. The Admiral felt something he had never experienced before in his long military career. Fear. What else? They have begun broadcasting psychological warfare messages to our troops. They are transmitting their military history, showing our soldiers what humans have done to each other in their wars. And, HiveTalk's voice trembled. Sir, some of our troops are refusing to fight. They say that any species capable of the Battle of Stalingrad or the bombing of Hiroshima is too dangerous to face in combat. Admiral Vex Thul accessed the human historical records his intelligence officers had compiled. What he saw made him understand his soldiers' fear. The humans had fought wars that made hegemony conflicts look like peaceful negotiations. The Battle of the Somme, where humans sent millions of their own kind to die for a few kilometers of muddy ground. The Siege of Leningrad, where humans ate leather and wallpaper rather than surrender. The nuclear bombings, where humans used weapons of mass destruction against their own species. But what terrified him most were the smaller stories. Human soldiers who fought with their bare hands when their weapons broke. Human pilots who flew damaged aircraft into enemy positions rather than retreat. Human civilians who chose death over surrender, even when surrender would have saved their families. These humans, the Admiral whispered, they do not fight to win. They fight because they cannot imagine doing anything else. On Earth, Dr. Webb's team had finished studying the captured alien fighter. The results were both encouraging and terrifying. Their technology is definitely more advanced than ours, Dr. Webb reported to General Chen. But it's also more specialized. They build tools for specific purposes. We build tools that can be adapted for multiple uses. What does that mean for us? It means their weapons are better, but our weapons are more flexible. They can't imagine using a mining laser as a weapon, but we can. They can't conceive of turning a cargo ship into a missile, but we can. Dr. Webb activated a holographic display showing the alien ship's design. More importantly, their technology is based on the assumption that their enemies will fight according to galactic conventions, but we've never heard of these conventions. General Chen smiled. So we can do things they'll never expect. Exactly. They build shields to stop energy weapons and projectiles. They don't build them to stop a ship traveling at relativistic speeds. They design their tactics around civilized warfare. They have no idea how to deal with what they would call terrorism. The next human attack proved Dr. Webb's point. Commander Vasquez led a fleet of modified civilian ships against an alien supply convoy. Instead of engaging in a traditional battle, the humans used hit-and-run tactics learned from Earth's guerrilla wars. They struck fast and disappeared before the aliens could respond. They targeted supply lines instead of main forces. They used the aliens' own technology against them, broadcasting false surrender signals to lure enemy ships into traps. The aliens found themselves fighting an enemy that refused to follow any rules they understood. Human forces would retreat, then attack from a completely different direction. They would surrender, then detonate hidden explosives when the aliens tried to board their ships. They would send peace envoys who were actually intelligence officers gathering information for the next attack. Admiral Vex Thole called an emergency meeting of his senior staff. The assembled officers represented the best military minds of the hegemony. All of them looked defeated. "Recommendations?" the admiral asked. "We should withdraw," said his tactical officer. "Regroup and return with a larger force. The humans will use that time to prepare better defenses," replied the intelligence chief. "And word of our difficulties is already spreading through the hegemony. Other species are beginning to question our strength." Admiral Vex Thole knew the truth. The hegemony had built its power on the assumption that they were the strongest force in the galaxy. If word spread that a primitive species could resist them, other conquered worlds might begin to rebel. "We cannot withdraw," he decided. "We must win this war quickly, before it spreads." But as he spoke, another report came in. Human forces had just destroyed a hegemony battleship using a modified asteroid mining ship. The humans had somehow accelerated a rock to nearly light speed and used it as a kinetic weapon. The admiral realized that he was no longer fighting a war of conquest. He was fighting for the survival of everything the hegemony represented. And he was losing to a species that had learned to turn anything into a weapon, including themselves. The galaxy was about to learn a terrible lesson about underestimating humanity. But for Admiral Vex Thule, that lesson was coming too late. 3 months into the war, humanity did something that no species in galactic history had ever managed. They took the fight beyond their own solar system. Commander Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of the newly christened UES Retribution, humanity's first interstellar warship. The ship was an impossible combination of human engineering and captured alien technology. It should not have worked. By all the laws of physics known to the galactic hegemony, the hybrid systems should have destroyed each other. But humans had never cared much about what should be impossible. "Jump coordinates locked in, Commander," reported her navigator, Lieutenant Chen Wei. "Target is the hegemony supply depot at Kepler 438b. Commander Vasquez nodded. "Take us out, Lieutenant. Time to show the galaxy that Earth is not the only place humans can fight." The Retribution vanished into hyperspace, followed by 43 other ships. Some were human designs upgraded with alien technology. Others were captured alien vessels modified with human weapons. All of them carried crews that had learned to fight like no other species in the galaxy. Back on Earth, Dr. Webb's research teams had achieved breakthrough after breakthrough. The captured alien technology had opened doors that human scientists had only dreamed of. But more importantly, it had shown them how to make their existing weapons far more dangerous. The aliens use quantum containment fields for their ship hulls, Dr. Webb explained to General Chen. But they don't expect anyone to have weapons that can destabilize quantum fields, so we built some. He showed her a weapon that looked like a modified plasma rifle. This can cause cascade failures in alien hull plating. One shot can destroy a ship from the inside out. "How many can you make?" "We've already made 10,000. Our manufacturing capacity is now triple what it was before the war." Turns out that when your species faces extinction, you can accomplish amazing things. General Chen smiled. "Any word from Commander Vasquez? She should be reaching the Kepler system in 6 hours. If her mission succeeds, it will be the first time in hegemony history that anyone has attacked their territory." In the Kepler system, the hegemony supply depot represented everything the aliens thought was permanent. It was a massive station built around an asteroid, protected by shields that could stop any known weapon. For 500 years, it had supplied hegemony fleets across this sector of space. The station's commander, an insectoid being named Klax Thor, received the first warning from his sensors. "Unknown ships entering the system. Configuration. I don't understand. They appear to be hegemony vessels, but the energy signatures are wrong." Commander Vasquez opened communication channels to the alien station. "Kepler Supply Depot. This is Commander Elena Vasquez of the United Earth Fleet. You are harboring enemies of humanity. Surrender now and you will be treated according to the Geneva Conventions. The alien commander was confused. Geneva Conventions? What are these conventions? And how did primitive humans reach our system? The Geneva Conventions, Commander Vasquez replied calmly, are rules that humans follow during war. They protect prisoners and civilians. As for how we got here, let's just say your people left some very interesting technology behind. The human fleet spread out around the supply depot. Their formation was unlike anything in hegemony tactical manuals. Instead of the orderly lines that civilized species used, the humans moved in a complex pattern that seemed almost random. Begin Phase 1, Commander Vasquez ordered. The first human ships to attack were converted cargo haulers. They moved directly toward the station's shields, seemingly intent on ramming. The aliens prepared to watch another futile human suicide attack. Instead, the cargo ships released clouds of metallic dust just before impact. The dust was iron oxide mixed with aluminum powder. Thermite. When it came into contact with the energy shields, it created reactions that the shield designers had never planned for. The shields flickered and failed in several sections. Through the gaps, human fighters poured like angry wasps from a disturbed nest. The alien defenders fought bravely. But they were not prepared for human tactics. The fighters attacked in coordinated groups, using maneuvers that no sane pilot would attempt. They flew through explosions, used debris as shields, and turned their own damaged ships into missiles when their weapons failed. Commander Claxthor watched in horror as his defenses crumbled. How are they doing this? Our weapons should destroy their ships easily. His tactical officer's voice shook with fear. Sir, they're not trying to avoid our weapons. They're accepting losses to achieve their objectives. I count 30 human ships destroyed. But they've eliminated 60% of our defensive systems. That's impossible. No species would accept such casualties. The tactical officer looked at his commander with wide, terrified eyes. Sir, I don't think they see them as casualties. I think they see them as investments. On the UES Retribution, Commander Vasquez coordinated the final phase of the attack. All ships. Begin bombardment of military targets only. Remember, we're here to liberate, not to destroy. The human weapons that struck the supply depot were precisely targeted. They destroyed weapon systems, shield generators, and military installations. But they carefully avoided civilian areas and infrastructure that could be useful. Within 2 hours, the most heavily defended hegemony installation in the sector had fallen to human forces. The aliens who survived the battle were treated with a combination of efficiency and mercy that confused them completely. Commander Vasquez met with the defeated alien commander in what had been the station's control room. Claxthor stared at the human woman in amazement. You could have killed us all, he said. Why didn't you? Because we're not like you, Commander Vasquez replied. We don't fight to enslave or destroy. We fight to protect what we love. Your people chose to threaten our families. That was a mistake, but the war can end whenever you decide to stop fighting. She handed him a datapad. This contains information about human military history. I suggest you read it and share it with your superiors. Maybe they'll understand what kind of enemy they've chosen to make. News of the human victory spread through the hegemony like a virus. For the first time in their history, one of their installations had fallen to an inferior species. Worse, the humans had shown mercy to the defeated aliens, which somehow made the defeat even more humiliating. On the hegemony capital world, the Council of Species met in emergency session. The reports from the war front were becoming increasingly desperate. The humans have reverse-engineered our quantum drive systems, reported Kethvara, the scientist who had first evaluated humanity. They now have faster-than-light travel. But they've modified the technology in ways we never thought possible. How so? Asked Counselor Zexmari. They've made the drives smaller and more efficient, but also more dangerous. Their ships can enter hyperspace from within a gravity well, which should be impossible. They can exit hyperspace closer to planets than our safety protocols allow. They're taking risks that we would never accept. The admiral of the hegemony fleet, Vexthal's superior, leaned forward. What is the status of the Earth System campaign? Another officer stood to deliver his report. Admiral Vex Thul has been forced into a defensive position. The humans control most of their outer system. Our casualties are approaching 40% of the original force. Shocked silence filled the chamber. The hegemony had never lost 40% of a fleet to any enemy, let alone a primitive species that had been discovered only months before. "How is this possible?" demanded the fleet admiral. "Sir, the humans appear to have weaponized their entire industrial capacity. They're producing ships and weapons at a rate that our analysts say should be impossible for their level of technology. But more concerning is their tactical doctrine." "Explain." "They don't fight to win individual battles, sir. They fight to learn from every encounter. Every time we defeat a human force, the next one we face has adapted to counter our tactics. They're evolving faster than we can adjust." In the Earth system, Admiral Vex Thul reviewed the latest intelligence reports about human capabilities. What he read filled him with a dread he had never known. The humans had built shipyards in the asteroid belt that produced vessels at an incredible rate. They had converted their entire planet into a war machine. Every factory, every laboratory, every school was now focused on the war effort. But most terrifying of all, they had begun recruiting alien prisoners into their forces. Hegemony soldiers who had been captured were being offered a choice: help humanity fight their former comrades, or sit in comfortable prison camps until the war ended. Many were choosing to fight for humanity. "Sir," Hive Talk reported, "we have a communication from Earth. General Chen wishes to speak with you directly." Admiral Vex Thul accepted the communication. The human general's face appeared on his screen. She looked tired but determined. "Admiral Vex Thul," she said, "I'm calling to offer you the same choice we've offered your soldiers. Surrender now, and your people will be treated with dignity. Continue this war, and we will drive you from our system and then hunt you across the galaxy." The admiral found his voice. "You cannot defeat the entire hegemony, human. We control 12 species across thousands of worlds." General Chen's expression didn't change. "Admiral, 3 months ago you thought we couldn't defeat a single fleet in our own system. How did that work out for you?" The communication ended. Admiral Vex Thul stared at the blank screen, knowing that everything he had believed about the galaxy had been wrong. Humanity was not just another species to be conquered. They were something entirely new and entirely dangerous. The war was far from over, but the outcome was no longer in doubt. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when you declared war on a species that had spent its entire history learning to fight. 1 year after the first alien ships appeared in Earth's solar system, Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Indomitable, humanity's most powerful warship. Through the viewports, she could see the blue-green world of Kepler 442b, the fortress world at the heart of hegemony space. The war that was supposed to end in 3 days had changed everything. Humanity now controlled 17 star systems. 3 hegemony species had switched sides completely. 2 others had declared neutrality and were secretly providing supplies to human forces. "Admiral," reported her communication officer, "we're receiving surrender broadcasts from 6 hegemony ships in the outer system. They're requesting permission to land under the protection of the Geneva Conventions." Admiral Chen nodded. "Grant their request. Make sure they understand the terms. Full disclosure of military information in exchange for safety and proper treatment." The Geneva Conventions had become famous throughout the galaxy. Human rules of war that protected prisoners, civilians, and even enemy wounded. Many alien soldiers now surrendered specifically to be placed under human protection rather than face their own officers' punishment for failure. Dr. Marcus Webb worked in his new laboratory aboard the Indomitable. Around him, human and alien scientists collaborated on projects that neither species could have imagined alone. The combination of human creativity and alien knowledge had produced technologies that seemed like magic. "Admiral Chen," he called over the internal communication system, "the new shield generators are ready for testing. We've combined our adaptive algorithms with their quantum field manipulation. The result should be shields that actually get stronger when attacked. Should be? Admiral Chen asked. Well, the alien scientists keep saying it's impossible. But our human engineers keep pointing out that most of what we've done was supposed to be impossible. So we're going to try it anyway. On the planet below, the final battle of the war was about to begin. But it would not be fought with weapons or ships. It would be fought with words and ideas. Admiral Vex Thule had been captured 3 months earlier, when his flagship was disabled in the Battle of Wolf 359. Now he sat in a comfortable room aboard the Indomitable, reading reports of the war's progress. His captors had given him access to all the information they had about the conflict. It was, they said, his right as a prisoner of war. The door opened and Admiral Chen entered. She carried 2 cups of coffee, the bitter human drink that had somehow become popular among alien prisoners. "Good morning, Admiral," she said, offering him one of the cups. "I thought you might want to know that your government has agreed to meet with our representatives." Admiral Vex Thule accepted the drink. In the year of his captivity, he had learned to appreciate the strange rituals of human hospitality. "Where? Right here. Your leaders are coming to this system to negotiate an end to the war. They will not surrender," Vexthal said. "The hegemony has ruled the galaxy for too long to submit to a species they still see as primitive." Admiral Chen sat down across from him. "I know. That's why this meeting isn't about surrender. It's about partnership." The hegemony delegation arrived 2 days later, 12 species represented by their most senior diplomats and military leaders. They came expecting to negotiate terms with barbarians. Instead, they found themselves facing the most sophisticated diplomatic and military organization the galaxy had ever seen. The meeting took place in the conference room of the Indomitable. The human delegation was led by President Martinez, who had been elected as Earth's first planetary president 6 months earlier. With him sat Admiral Chen, Dr. Webb, and representatives from every nation on Earth. But the human delegation also included something unprecedented in galactic politics: alien advisors. Hegemony prisoners who had chosen to work with humanity sat alongside human leaders as equal partners. Keth Vara, the Zephyrian scientist who had first evaluated humanity, led the hegemony delegation. She looked around the conference room with amazement. Humans and aliens working together as equals. It was something she had never imagined possible. "President Martinez," she began, "the galactic hegemony is willing to discuss terms for ending this conflict. We are prepared to offer significant compensation for the damage caused to your world." President Martinez shook his head. "Dr. Kethvara, I think you misunderstand the situation. We're not here to accept your surrender or your compensation. We're here to offer you partnership." The alien delegates looked confused. This was not how negotiations were supposed to proceed. Admiral Chen activated a holographic display that showed the current state of the galaxy. "The old hegemony is gone," she said simply. 3 of your member species have already joined the Terran Federation. 2 more have declared independence. Your fleet has lost 70% of its strength. Your economy is collapsing as worlds refuse to send tribute. She changed the display to show human territories. Humanity now controls or protects 37 worlds. Our technology combines the best of human innovation with alien knowledge. Our fleet grows stronger every day. We could conquer the rest of hegemony space within 2 years. Dr. Webb leaned forward. "But we don't want to conquer you. We want to build something better together." The hologram changed again, showing a new map of the galaxy. "The Terran Federation," President Martinez explained, "is based on principles your species have never tried: equality between races, democracy in government, protection for the weak, justice for all." "Impossible," declared the representative of the Dominion species. "Different races cannot be equal. Some are naturally superior." Admiral Chen smiled. Admiral Vexthul said the same thing when this war began. Would you like to hear his thoughts on that subject now? Quote, at her signal, Admiral Vexthul entered the conference room. The hegemony delegates stared in shock at their former military leader. He looked healthy, well-treated, and strangely peaceful. "My former colleagues," Vexthul said. "I have spent a year studying these humans. I have learned things that our entire civilization missed. He walked to the holographic display. We assumed that might made right. That advanced technology meant superior culture. That conquest was the natural order of things. He touched controls that showed human history. But humans have tried every form of government, every type of society. They have learned from their mistakes in ways we never did. The display showed images of human democracy, human rights movements, human efforts to create justice and equality. They fight not to conquer, but to protect. They advance not to dominate, but to explore. They unite not through force, but through shared values. Kethvara found her voice. What are you saying, Admiral? I am saying that we were wrong. About everything. Human technology is advancing faster than ours because they share knowledge freely. Human society is stronger than ours because they value individuals, not just species. Human military is defeating us because they fight for principles, not just territory. He turned to face his former colleagues. The humans offer us something the hegemony never provided. A chance to be better than we were. The negotiations continued for 3 days. Some hegemony species accepted humanity's offer immediately. Others demanded time to consider. A few declared they would fight to the end. On the final day, President Martinez made humanity's closing statement. We know that some of you will not accept our offer of partnership. That is your right. But know this. The age of the hegemony is over. The age of freedom has begun. You can be part of building that future, or you can be left behind by it. The crystalline hierarchy was the first to formally join the Terran Federation. The Aquatic Union followed hours later. By the end of the week, 8 of the 12 hegemony species had either joined the Federation or declared their independence from hegemony control. The remaining 4 species retreated to the Galactic Rim, vowing to rebuild their strength and return. But everyone knew it would not matter. The galaxy had seen what humans could accomplish when threatened. No one wanted to find out what they could do when truly aroused to anger. 5 years later, Admiral Sarah Chen stood in the memorial garden on Luna. The names of every human who had died in the war were carved into black stone walls that reflected the Earth hanging in the lunar sky. Beside the human names were the names of alien allies who had fallen fighting for freedom. Dr. Webb joined her, looking older but more content than she had ever seen him. The new shipyards at Alpha Centauri are operational, he reported. Joint human-alien design teams have created vessels that are 50% more efficient than anything we built during the war. And the exploration fleets? 3 new star systems discovered this month. 2 have habitable worlds. 1 has intelligent life that appears to be peaceful. Dr. Webb smiled. First contact protocols have been established. No ultimatums. No demands for surrender. Just, hello. Neighbors, Admiral Chen nodded. Good. That's as it should be. A young voice interrupted them. Admiral Chen? They turned to see a group of children approaching. Human and alien children playing together. Their differences ignored in the way that only children could manage. Yes? Admiral Chen asked the human girl who had spoken. My teacher says you were in the war. The big war with the hegemony. Is it true that you beat them? Admiral Chen knelt down to the child's eye level. We didn't beat them, sweetheart. We convinced them that there was a better way to live. An alien child, one of the insectoid species that had joined the Federation, clicked its mandibles curiously. My parents say humans are the strongest warriors in the galaxy. Is that true? Admiral Chen looked at the mixed group of children, thinking about her answer. Humans learned to fight because we had to. We were good at war because we had no choice, but we're even better at peace when we get the chance to try it. She stood and looked back at the memorial wall. The strongest thing about humans isn't that we can win wars. It's that we can imagine a world where wars aren't necessary. The children ran off to continue their games, their laughter echoing across the lunar landscape. Admiral Chen watched them go, knowing that these children would grow up in a galaxy very different from the one she had known. In the distance, ships from a dozen different species moved through space together, exploring new worlds and building new homes. The galaxy was still vast and dangerous, still full of unknowns and challenges. But for the first time in galactic history, those challenges would be met by species working together as equals, guided by principles of justice and freedom that humanity had spent millennia learning to understand. The galaxy had made a deadly mistake when it declared war on humanity. But from that mistake, something beautiful had been born, a future where strength served justice, where diversity created unity, and where the best of every species could shine. It was, Admiral Chen thought, exactly the kind of impossible thing that humans specialized in making real.